Hi, I'm Josh, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about a very taboo subject. I'm going to be talking about something that has not only haunted my own life, but something that haunts the lives of many men today. And of course, I'm talking about uh, prostitute addiction, escort addiction, massage parlor addiction, whatever you want to call it, an addiction to paying women for sex. Um, this is something that I've struggled with for about 2 years now, and I can say that I got over it, but it took a lot out of me. It took a lot of resources, and it's something that I wouldn't wish on anyone. This is truly a awful addiction because it's very taboo. Like I said, it's very looked down upon. You know, if you're struggling with depression and anxiety, you can obviously go to a therapist. You can obviously talk to a friend about those things, and you can feel better after, and you can get a lot of knowledge from a lot of different sources. But with an addiction like this, you can't really go and talk to your friends about this. This is not something you want to tell people about. So due to that, I feel like it's necessary for me to go out and share my experience with you guys, even though I think it's very embarrassing to go on the internet and talk about something like this. But again, I think it's necessary because a lot of men are struggling silently. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so this addiction first started when I was 18 years old, so about 2 years ago. And it started like most men. You hear some rumors, you see some things online, and you wonder if it's true or not. You wonder if that massage parlor on the side of the road is really doing some extra things. You're really questioning reality, and you get real curious. You're like, you know what, fuck it, I'll go see what's up. And that was me. I researched on the infamous website, found one, went there, and like many guys, driving there, I was feeling real nervous. I was feeling anxious. I had to pump myself up to be able to walk into the building because I felt sick. I did not feel like I was doing something good. I felt like I was doing something evil. I felt like I was doing something that's just morally wrong. And I had to deal with those emotions and kind of suppress it a little bit. And it was hard, but my curiosity and my excitement got the best of me, and I eventually walked into the building. And yeah, I mean, I was filled with adrenaline. It was hard to calm down when I was in there. Eventually, I was able to get past all those emotions and calm myself down, and that took a lot out of me. But eventually, I was able to enjoy the moment and really enjoy the massage. And once it got done, I felt a little shameful. I felt a little guilty, and that post nut clarity hits hard the first time around. I know all of you have been there. Every single person, their first time, you can remember this. The first time you walk out back outside to go find your car, every single one of you, I know this for a fact, are kind of feeling like, oh, is anyone seeing me walk out here? You're kind of like looking around, like, hope no one sees me. I hope no one just witnessed me do that. I know every single person that has gone to a massage parlor has felt that. Maybe even every time they've gone there. And that's because we know deep down that what we're doing is bad. We know deep down what we're doing is a little shameful, and we feel guilty for that. The real problem is eventually you get numb to that. That shame and guilt that is initially there, you get numb to, and that's what happened to me. I was hooked the first time. The adrenaline rush, the high of it all outweighed all of the negative emotions that I felt afterwards. And because of that, I was hooked, and I continued to return to places like that and to continue to go down that rabbit hole that would eventually destroy my life in a way. And so after I got home that day, I was experiencing what I call the chaser effect. I was continuing to fantasize about what just happened, and it left me wanting more. And due to that, I continued searching for more and more places like that. And I actually went back to another place later that night. So immediately from the first time that I went there, I immediately got hooked to it and I got addicted. And man, it hurt me, man. It's not something I wish on people. So that summer, I spent over $1,500 on massage parlors. And I was feeling all these negative emotions. I felt bad, but for some reason, I would continue to go back. Maybe that was because of lack of intimacy. Maybe it was I didn't have any other options at that point. That was my only sexual experiences at that time. Um, could have been a lot of things. Could have been a lot of things. And the effects that it had on me is something that needs to be talked about because I know it's affecting a lot of men as well. Obviously, the loss of money that I experienced in that summer was pretty big. $1,000 goes a long way, especially when you're about to go into college. And so that summer, I spent about $1,500 on massage parlors, and that's a lot of money, especially for a young kid to be able to blow that money in one summer. That's not smart, especially blowing money on something that gives you 5 seconds of true gratification, just to be met with negative emotions afterwards. It's awful. It's awful. Looking back, it hurts, but it happened, and obviously that summer it fueled my addiction, and I went into college. I moved to a different city, and I had to work for my money now. I was working DoorDash. You don't make a lot of money doing DoorDash, but the money that I did have went to my addiction, went to fulfilling my urges. It was rare that I would stop going for a period of time. The only times I would not go to these massage parlors was because I just did not have the money for it. But when I did have the money for it, I would instantly go there and blow it. So I was eating pretty bad. I didn't have money to do a lot of things, and I was spending money that I didn't have. And I remember on several occasions, I would go there knowing that I didn't have enough money to tip them to be able to do whatever I wanted. So I would just get a massage and leave because I couldn't pay for anything else. I think that happened 3 times. Knowingly that I didn't have enough money, but I still went anyways just because I needed to fulfill these urges. It's sick. Alright, so right now I'm going to talk about some of the negative emotions that I've experienced due to this addiction. And the craziest thing is that I was experiencing a lot of negative emotions due to this, but eventually I became numb to them. And I think I mentioned this earlier. You get to the point where you get used to the shame and to the guilt that you experience. You kind of get used to the empty feeling you feel after, maybe the depression and the anxiety that you feel after. And due to that, it makes it easier for you to continue to give into your addiction. So sometimes I wouldn't notice it, but sometimes I'd really face it. And I'd feel empty, I'd feel depressed, I just feel low amounts of self-esteem after. I felt bad about myself. And sometimes it hurts so bad, I'll be like, I can't do this anymore. I gotta stop. I have to stop. And I would go a period of time, I'd go a month or two without doing it. And I'm starting to get the momentum going. I'm starting to get my shit together. I'm starting to find purpose and really get after it and start to have a better life. And immediately when I start doing better, I would feel these really strong urges to go back to my old ways. I was self-destructing because I just naturally didn't think I deserved anything better than that current situation. I didn't think I deserved any better than spending money for sex. I didn't think I deserved anything better than that. For some reason, my body subconsciously wanted me to go back to my old ways. And that made it very, very, very difficult to be able to overcome this addiction because after a streak of 1 to 2 months of being clean, I would eventually fall back to my old ways and go back to these parlors or go back to these escorts, and the cycle would restart. Um, because once you start going consistently again, like once you get one relapse, it's easier to get another and another and another. So, yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. It's tough. That's all I can say. Um, but sorry, this is hard. It's hard. It's hard to talk about this stuff because I'm just reliving just these negative times in my life. Feeling stuck in your ways has to be one of the worst feelings you have with any addiction, but I'd say especially with um, prostitute or escort addiction, whatever you want to call it. It's really bad with this one because you relapse, you have these negative emotions that stick with you, and you have to cope with those emotions, and then eventually you feel better and you relapse, and it just keeps going in a circle, and you keep repeating the pattern. You keep continuing the cycle, and you just can't break away from it, despite you wanting better for yourself, despite you knowing what you're doing is bad. Nothing is stopping you from breaking that cycle. That has to be one of the worst feelings you can possibly feel. You get real depressed, you feel real bad about yourself. That's where people do some crazy things. And with this addiction being so taboo and not talked about, but being so widespread, people don't have a lot of options. People don't have a lot of solutions to be able to get better and get clean. I think one of the better ones you can do or try is therapy. For me, I had mixed results with therapy. I don't think it didn't help that much, if I'm going to be honest. They were so centered around coping with your urges. And I understand that's important, but when it's broken down like, all right, so your urges are like a wave, it comes in real strong and you just got to ride it out, and eventually it's just going to wash away and get real calm, or like, I don't know, some bullshit like that. Like, I don't want to hear about that. Like, oh, you're telling me if I just don't give into my urges, I'm not going to be addicted? Oh, great. All right, I guess willpower alone is going to make me get over my addiction. I mean, that's why I wrote that down right there. Like, dude, like, coping with your urges is not going to do anything. And you explaining my urges to be like a wave and I just have to ride it out is not helping anyone. I tried 3 different therapists and it's all the same thing, man. It's why am I talking about my family when I'm wanting actionable things to be able to get over this addiction and not have urges in the first place? Like, why am I talking about something that happened when I was 12 when I have bigger fish to fry? Like, I don't know why I'm talking about these things. It doesn't help me. So that wasn't the best thing. But then again, I did find some things in therapy that did help. But I can't completely discredit therapy because it did help occasionally. It helped every once in a while. I was able to get something out of it. And I think the biggest thing that I got out of it was we all have a ritual before we give into our urges. For me, it was driving to the bank and withdrawing cash. I did that before every single one of my sessions, and I think most of you guys do the same thing. No one really tips with the credit card, even though it is possible. I don't know how that works. Most people tip with money. So driving to the bank is one ritual that you could do before you give into your urges, and it's just as important to avoid the bank as to it is avoiding the parlor itself or whatever escort or prostitute you go to. That was something that I learned from therapy that stuck with me, and there's some other things, but for the most part, therapy does not give you enough actionable things for you to be able to go do. It's more of a coping mechanism. It teaches you how to cope with your urges rather than how to completely eliminate them. There is a way to eliminate these urges and not have to feel them day in, day out. Other solutions that worked for me was quitting porn. That really hurt me in the short term because my urges were a lot stronger initially, and it was easier to act on them in the short term. But in the long term, my brain just wasn't as fucked up. Simply said, it just wasn't as fucked up. And in the long term, it really did help eliminate a lot of urges. And if you're to pair that with some actionable things like just taking care of yourself, get your hygiene on point, look good, feel good about yourself, that goes a long way in developing self-respect. And that's something you lost. You know, this addiction, it kills you. It kills your soul, man. And just finding some level of self-respect and clinging to it is so key. So just taking care of yourself, getting good sleep, eating good, getting a lot of exercise, just getting other sources of dopamine that are healthy. That's truly going to help you, because when you start to quit this addiction, it's very hard because it's very gratifying. It's extremely gratifying. That's why you have an addiction, and that's why you act upon it so willingly. It's just so gratifying. You need to find other sources of dopamine and other sources of things that you just enjoy, because that you have to replace the dopamine that you get and the gratification that you get from going to the massage parlors and going to the escorts and whatnot. You have to replace that with something a little more healthy. So working out, taking care of yourself, that helps. And finally, one of the bigger things that you can possibly do is to find some sort of purpose and just cling to it. That right there is what's truly going to put the nail in the coffin as to not having urges anymore. If you find a purpose and you get up every morning and get after something, that's going to distract you, and that's going to help you overcome the addictions that you have. So along with hearing my story and seeing how my addiction had very negative consequences on my life, I hope you get something out of this video, especially if you're struggling with this addiction. I want to help men with this addiction. I'm the one and only resource devoted to helping men solely with a prostitute and escort addiction. And as you can see from my story, I understand the pains and the problems of this addiction deeply. This addiction is easily one of the hardest things to overcome because this addiction hides in the dark, and suffering silently is what makes this addiction so deadly. So if you're suffering, I encourage you to take action and reach out to me in the link in the description and set up a one-to-one call where we will go over your current situation and how you can improve your life. All right. I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you guys have a good day. All right.